Hello, and welcome to Living with Program. One of the things that's really fascinating about the way in which we are all manipulated in that sense by the program is the way in which the program itself controls the way we see. The way we see. It's one of the things that you notice in the life is that you notice things that people refer to as fads. Things that suddenly everybody sees it, everybody gets it, everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and then all of a sudden it simply disappears. And that everybody was open to that thing because we were all being conditioned to look at things in the same way. And the way that works is through one of the most fascinating aspects of the database in human design. That is the nodes of the moon. And the nodes of the moon are a polarity. They are always opposite each other. And they are very unusual in that they move mostly backwards. They have a sort of back and forth movement, but fundamentally they're moving backwards. Whereas the sun and earth, in that sense, in their polarity, are moving direct. And the nodes are the only thing that is involved in our imprinting that in fact are not objects at all. They're not like the moon or Mars or Pluto. When you're dealing with the nodes of the moon, you're actually dealing with positions, the apogee and the perigee of the rotation of the moon around the earth, the head and the tail of the dragon. And the nodes in our lives are extraordinarily important because they represent our movement in life and in essence lay the foundation for our story. And one of the most important aspects of the nodes of the moon is the way in which the nodes of the moon frame our perspective, the way we see. So given that the nodes are a polarity in the wheel and that there are 64 gates in the wheel, we have these 32 polarities of the nodes as they move in their cycle that create 32 very specific ways in which we are conditioned to look at things and see them so that we can all be blinded by a lie in the moment only to discover later how we were fooled. How easy it is for humanity to be conditioned at any moment because they're all locked into the same framework in terms of the way they see. And the nodes do not move quickly. It takes 18.6 years, approximately 18 and a half years, for the nodes to complete their cycle around the wheel. And it is this 18.6-year cycle that is very significant for us because it represents this movement, this spectrum of all the possibilities of life stories, of journeys, and of different ways of seeing. In the transits, the nodes can stay in those opposite gates for anywhere from 2 to 4 or even 5 months. It's a long time. The longer a transit is there, the quicker we forget that it's there, that it simply becomes part of the natural background energy. And so those nodes, they're controlling the way in which we see. And on any given day, lasting in that sense for weeks or months, there is this conditioning influence for us to have a similar perspective. It's what homogenization is all about. Homogenization is getting us to see something the same way, to deny us our uniqueness, our difference, our individuality, our right to express our own authority. It's one of the most powerful things that is there in the transiting field is the way in which humanity is constantly being homogenized into the same perspective. You see, if you're going to break out, if you're going to live the possibility of who you are, you have to live by your own perspective, not something that is conditioned. not something that fools you because you have no true way of measuring it, that you're simply locked in the flow, that you're nodding your head along with everybody else who's being fooled by the same mechanism. See, human design is about the uniqueness of being. It is about the extraordinary potential that is there in every single one of us to live our difference. And the very foundation of the way in which we express that uniqueness intellectually through awareness is rooted in our perspective. It's rooted in how we see. Each and every one of us are designed to see uniquely. We're not here to be lost in that homogenized veil that drops down and blinds us all to what's there to be seen. In truth, if you bring beings together who are correct, who operate according to their unique perspective, regardless of what an event may be, they will all see it differently. And so it is. And in that diversity lies truth, and lies the privilege that is there in each and every one of us, in the integrity of our perspective, to be able to see and express what we see. Not to be forced to conform, not to be lost in a program that says, today, children, we're all going to see the same way. It's not what it's about. Follow your strategy and authority. Don't be a pawn in the program. Don't make decisions with your mind. Live out the beauty of what it is to be you. And like all things having to do with watching the program, it is mostly about the others in your life. Those not self beings that you deal with every day, they're the ones who are being conditioned to see in that homogenized way. Understand what they're seeing. Recognize the limitation in that. And in some cases, you can truly be of value to these beings because there are so many ways to see. I have a great name for Earth. I don't particularly find Earth to be inspiring, but nonetheless, I have a name for Earth. That is for the homogenized Earth, for the not self Earth. It's called Y planet. That's us. That's where the homogenized world lives. It lives on Y planet. And everything about the homogenized being is the power of the seduction of the mind. I mean, human design is about understanding that we're not here to make decisions according to the mind, that we have a much more correct way, a unique way to make decisions as ourselves, that the mind is for measuring, that the mind is for the beauty of its outer authority, its capacity in that sense to be able to represent one sampling of the experience of being. But mind gets in the way. And one of the most insidious ways in which it works is with the plan. Plan your work and work your plan, all that stuff. You got a plan and you're going to work it and you're going to do it and all of this. And the moment that your mind comes up with a plan and the moment that you go for it is the moment that you leave behind any potential to truly live out who you are. It's not about seeing. It's not about pondering. It's not even about looking forward. It's about understanding the nature of what it is to be. When you're operating correctly as yourself, for the vast majority of humanity, you're waiting for life to dictate what's going to happen. It all is just happening. And if you're not involved in the plan, then you can see. And seeing, now that is something that's really special. Don't live on Y planet, Come back down here to Earth as a nine-centered being and live correctly as yourself.